What is up guys, Said here, and today as you can see I have the Kia Stinger 2.0 GT line in front of me. And if you're wondering why I have the base Kia Stinger instead of the 3.3 litre GT, it's because Kia said this Kia Stinger 2.0 is more popular than the GT. That's why I opted for this. Anyway, don't get confused because the base Kia Stinger is the GT line, whereas the 3.3 litre twin turbo V6 Stinger is the GT. So the naming convention is, they are quite similar, but don't get confused. So this car comes with a 2 litre single turbo engine, 244 horsepower, 353 Newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is about 6 seconds, more or less. So this car by itself, I would say, is pretty well equipped. I think the main things that you are missing out on would probably be the 15-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, the bigger brakes, the adaptive suspension, and the LSD. But overall, I would say still very well spec'd. Okay, especially for an Asian car. I mean, just look at this car. It's one of the most beautiful Asian cars you can get right now, to be honest. Yesterday when it was raining and I parked this car, after I parked it, I walked away. I turned back to look at it because it's just so beautiful, especially with the curved lines. If you look at it from the front, I'm not sure if the camera is able to capture this, but you can see the hips, okay, of the car. On the back, maybe the camera is not able to capture this, but the hips of the car, or like around the rear door, the fuel tank area is actually flat, so it gives it that kind of sexy silhouette. And of course with the beautiful headlights, LEDs by the way, and the grille, and this chrome bits and all that, yeah, it just looks very, very good. So if you're talking about length, right, this car is actually quite long. It's almost as long as a 5 Series and it's almost as heavy as a 7 Series, okay, just to give you a perspective of the size of this car. I also noticed that when I park in a regular sized parking lot, this car will actually protrude out a bit, okay, depending on the size of the lot. Sometimes even when I reverse all the way in, means the rear tires are touching the curb, the car still protrudes out just a little bit. Alright, interior, this is I think one of the strong points of the Kia Stinger, because you can see this part is, soft touch leather over here. This is actually very nice feeling leather. All the important touch points like your door handle, steering wheel, gear shifter are all made of premium feeling materials. Ironically, the only place I can find hard scratchy plastics is this part of the steering wheel right in the middle here, okay. The rest of the car is either like this. I don't think this is real carbon fiber because it feels a bit different, but yeah, it's either metal, soft touch, plastic, or leather, okay. You can even see like the buttons here are made from, I think this is real, this is metal, and this part is just very traditional Kia, okay, in terms of the layouts and the materials and all that. Seats wise, I have to say it's actually quite supportive and it's quite comfortable. The bolsterings are actually quite big, you can see, so they hold you in place. This part of the interior really reminds me of the interior of the Mercedes AMG GT, which is actually a good thing because the interior of that car is really very, very nice. Actually, even this part also reminds me a bit of the AMG. Actually not a bit, it's quite a lot. Okay, looks like the interior of the AMG GT. I think the only thing I want to point out is probably that this screen could have been a bit bigger, because you can see that they actually have space on the sides here, okay, so it could have actually been like stretched out bigger. But yeah, this is just a small thing I want to point out. Apart from that, yeah, interior for Kia is very, very nice. So in terms of interior space, I would say it's actually not too bad. Over here, I think you can just about fit one 500 milliliter bottle. Okay, there's a wireless charging tray, USB ports, 2 cup holders. The compartment here isn't that deep, okay, I think it's about average size. Glove box wise, this is an A4 document, so it's just nice to keep an A4 size document. Alright, so right now I'm in the back of the Kia Stinger and this seat is in my original driver's position. You can see I have tons of knee room, my feet are comfortable. Yeah, even though the windows in the back are not the biggest, but it's still quite spacious here in the back, especially for a sporty car like this. However, being a rear wheel drive car, you can see that the transmission tunnel is quite big, so I have to put my feet up on top like this or on the sides, and that eats up into leg room, but you do get rear aircon vents. Very nice. In terms of headroom, yeah, I'm about 1.75 meters tall, so just about touching the roof of the car. But there's still a bit of space, very little. But my head's not touching the roof of the car, even when I'm sitting in the rear middle seat, which is slightly raised as compared to the other two seats. Okay, so how does this car feel to drive? Very first thing is that there's enough power, but it just lacks that excitement. As in, the power delivery is quite gradual. It's not like it will kick you back in your seat, that kind of feeling, you see. So like, yeah, so there's quite a noticeable turbo lag before the car actually responds. So this car, like I mentioned just now, it's about 1.76 tons, something like that. So it's almost as heavy as a 7 series. It's actually heavier than a 5 series. And with just a 2-liter turbo in front, yeah, the car has to work harder, okay, to haul it off the line. Next, I would say that the transmission in this car, sometimes I feel like it's not in the right gear. Like, it's either one gear too high, or yeah, it's usually one gear too high. So I always have to, like, if I want to go fast, I always have to manually use the pedal shifters, because this car, if you notice, the gear pedal, you can't move it to the right or left to like lock it into manual. Okay, so you can only use manual via the pedal shifters. But even then, after a few seconds, the car will revert back to automatic. Okay, next, handling. So you can see, like, when I make small adjustments, the car responds. But I want to point out that there is a bit of free play in the steering wheel. And even when I put into sports mode, it's not as heavy as... Okay, it gets heavier, but it's not as heavy as you want it to be. Okay, for me personally, I feel like in sports mode, the steering could have been a bit heavier, just for that sportier driving feel. And even in sports mode, there is a little bit of free play in the steering. Okay, so I feel like, yeah, this part could have been a bit better, just to give it a more engaging driving dynamic. But overall, still quite a fun car to drive. Yeah, just these small things. I think the number one is the transmission, and number two is the steering. I mean, I'm nitpicking with the steering lah. Okay, it's quite sharp. Okay, you can see the car responds very well. No body roll at all. But I just don't really like a bit of free play that you get, and also the sort of stiffness. Okay, yeah, I feel like it could have been a bit more stiffer, just to make it a bit more fun. So I think this car is best driven in sports mode, because in comfort mode, yeah, it just feels like a regular car. There's no drama. This car overall, yeah, not much drama apart from the sound pumped through the speakers. But then again, those are not the real exhaust sound anyway. So you can actually adjust it through the infotainment screen. So yeah. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Kia Stinger? Driving this car for the past few days, I have to say it's a very good GT car. So for long journeys, it's pretty comfortable, quiet, there's enough power no matter what mode you are in, like comfort, even in eco mode also, there's enough power for you to like overtake and all that. The only thing to be mindful of is the turbo lag. So I noticed like the turbo lag is about exactly 1 second. So you see, like right now I'm gonna floor it 1000, then the car picks up. You know when they say the gap between Asian cars and continental cars are getting smaller, this Stinger is, I think, a good example of that. Because you think about it, you get a turbo, you get this nice looking interior, drives well, enough performance, it's comfortable, quiet, comfortable enough. Yeah, speaking of comfort, this car is it's more on the stiffer side, but it's still comfortable, I would say. You know, it's getting closer and closer to Conti car level, you know, like a 4 Series Grand Coupe or an Audi A5. Yeah, so I think within like maybe the next iteration of the Stinger, it will be, you know, almost as good. But this, bear in mind, is the base Kia Stinger, okay? It's not the full-fledged 3.3 litre GT. So I haven't driven that one yet. Maybe I'll ask Kia for that and then, you know, we can see how good that car is. Okay, but just talking about the Stinger in general, okay, for the base Stinger, comparing the base Stinger with like a base 4 Series GC or base A5. Alright, and also speaking of comparing those cars, this car, the Dupree bracket is, I think, just under 20,000. I think it's about $19,600, something like that, okay, based on the listed price. So if you look at a depreciation bracket, right, you can actually get an MX-5, you can get a 2 Series Grand Coupe, you can get a Mini Clubman, Mini Electric. Okay, these cars are within the same depreciation bracket, but those cars can't really compete with this because they are in, you know, different segments, right? This is a GT, those are, you know, different types of cars. But I also have to point out that if you are shopping for a car in this kind of category, this kind of price bracket, like 220,000 kind of price range, I don't think you are gonna be that price sensitive, in the sense that if let's say you have to top up like maybe 5k more or 10k more, I would think people will be okay with that. Because, you know, if you're spending 220k, what is another like 5k, right? So why I say that is because if you top up a bit more, you can actually get like a 3 Series, a 318, or you can get an Audi A5 already, okay? With just a bit more money, you're already in the Conti car level segment, because this car again is already $220,000 and it's a Kia. So overall, I would say, you know, at this kind of price point, the competition is quite strong, because you're not just looking at Asian cars already. Yeah, your competitors are all mostly continental cars already in this price bracket. So yeah, to sum it up, yeah, the car looks beautiful inside and outside, drives well enough, but it's not that exciting, especially when you're paying this kind of money. I think you want something more dramatic, I guess. This car is a good GT car, okay? But if you want like drama, you want excitement, I think yeah, this is probably not the car. This base GT, okay, probably not the car. So yeah guys, that's about it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.